Okay, I think we are live on YouTube at this point. So hello everybody. This is the Build working group meeting, the last one of November, and we have a good agenda today. But before we jump into the agenda, do we have any announcements that we want to make? Okay, I will take this as a no. So I think let's have a look into the schedule for today. So the first topic in the agenda that we have is the infrastructure for Orca, which is the issue 3886. Let me set the link in the chat so we can have an idea. Yeah, I think as Ryan is not here, we may not get like the final note, but as far as I know, we are very similar on the last status update, which was like we requested already like the new nodes to be added to the cluster. And the idea is to start to moving and transferring the payload and finally decommission the old devices so we can also be more aligned with the sponsorship capabilities, because right now we are like having two clusters, which is not the most cheapest solution right now. But yeah, that is so far. I think we had some issues eventually. Just to do a recap for this period, we have some issues eventually with the VPN connection and with the spin up with the ephemeral nodes. But so far seems like it's more stable than before. That's my feeling, but worth double checking maybe with other contributors to the project and see how that's going. Also, I think not a lot of people have been complaining about the build times, because right now we don't have any cache policy kind of thing. I mean, we don't have any cache on the machines. It's not like before we have the machine running. So if you already need to build node twice, you will have some cache on the machine. Right now we don't have that because they are ephemeral, start from zero. Seems like the build time is a little bit slower than before, but the machines are faster. So
But are they,
somehow we are kind of okay, I guess.
but are we actually running those? I didn't think we added the new machines into the tests here, or did we?
I think we added. I'm not sure if we are doing all the jobs, but definitely they are start to doing some jobs, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I mean, I remember that the release machines were added
Yeah, release
because
machines for
the old
sure.
ones fell over.
Yeah.
I thought we were waiting for the additional nodes before enabling like the main test job. So most people won't be seeing the long
Oh,
build
okay.
times because they're not being run on those machines.
Yeah,
Uh,
that makes sense.
so yeah, who knows? I
Yeah,
think
who
at the
knows?
moment people are
Yeah.
just you know occasionally when like one of the Macs, one of the two runners on the old infrastructure goes offline and everything gets bottlenecked on the one, that tends to be when people complain and saying like,
Yep.
build is stuck for hours and it's just because it's keep waiting for a Mac OS runner to pick the job up.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is right now. Yeah, yeah. Ephemeral will solve that eventually and will be better. But yeah, right now we are in this stage. Okay. So yeah, I think that was the update, more or less for the org infrastructure. I think the next one is about the Equinix replacement, which is the issue 3597, which I'm not have all the context.
Um, we're we're waiting on Ryan, I think, to come back with I guess once the Mac OS stuff is sorted to work out the remaining machines. That's the unencrypted, which I think, given that's a live part of the infrastructure, needs a little bit more planning around. And then the smart OS machines, you know, we have the new machines, but we're not running any jobs in the new machines, and there's some additional work that needs to happen. I don't know what the current status is on that. I know there's been discussion, but I don't haven't seen much movement. So um, we know it's one of the platforms that at the moment is still running agents with Java 11, I think. And
Mhm.
apparently a newer image does have newer Java, but no, the new machines aren't even. whatever we've got set up, I don't know if they've got the Java on there, but even if they did, they're not running jobs at the moment because the node isn't building on them. So yeah, there's some work to do there. Um, but we can't update to the next, so the current Jenkins LTS. We're blocked from updating to that until we get the agents updated to at least Java 17. Or if we update, then the things that aren't running on Java 17 will be cut off from Jenkins. So yeah, it is yeah, one of the things. And then I think there's a PR in core that's blocked because that the old SmartOS machines are running GCC 10 or some, an older version of GCC. And whatever this PR is trying to use something that needs a newer GCC. So we, oh no, it might be running GCC 8 and now requires GCC 10. So something, it, it it's one of those things where I think, if we get the new machines working, it should automatically then be on a new enough GCC. But yeah, I don't know when that's going to happen. So at the moment, that
Yeah.
that PR in core is like, any news on the upgrade? And it's like same. Like I'm sitting here with you. I don't know. I know there's work to be
Yeah.
done. I don't know what the status is. So um, yeah,
Yeah. That's a good summary of what's going on right now with these. Um, I think the next issue in the agenda is regarding the macOS refuse to start, the tarbals issue, which I didn't have the time yet to work on that. So yeah, is the issue 3538. So I will add no updates from in the agenda. Not sure if it makes sense to keep it in the agenda, just as a reminder, or we should remove it until we have bandwidth and we make some progress on this.
yeah. I guess remove it. I don't know. It's been it hasn't worked for a very long time, and I can't remember if it was
Yep.
I can't remember if it's a regression or it just has never worked, or it was a Mac OS change that meant that once you went to a certain version of Mac OS, this stopped working. But I don't think it's a regression in that Node used to do something and now isn't. It's like, no, something has changed on the Mac OS side, which means you need to
Yep.
do something. And yeah, I guess it's
Yeah.
inconvenient, but also, I don't think we see a lot of people complaining that
Yeah, that's the thing.
there have been people that have complained, and maybe they're just
Yeah.
assuming that it'll be fixed eventually, but it's not like, we've got people coming every month or so saying,
Yeah,
when's the
yeah, yeah,
fix? So
definitely. It's something
if
that
people
happened on
have
the
time
macOS. Yeah.
to look at it and work on it, that's fine. If not,
Yeah.
it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had some problems initially also to reproduce this because I think it's depend on the setup that you have on macOS. So maybe you have different like security tweaks or whatever settings, and then
Yeah, I don't know.
basically go more strict or not on that. But yeah, the idea is to notarize the tarbals, right? So that's something that we don't do. Technically was never expected to be done, and somehow
There
Apple
was
just changed their idea, and I
there
think
was a lot of
after
documentation
12.
that suggested it wasn't possible, but then I think you said it might be possible doing it in some roundabout way.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not, yeah, I don't even use the platform, so the whole notarization signing thing on macOS is alien to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think next last official topic in the agenda is discussion about the R2 migration, which is the
Yeah,
issue
so there has been
3500.
movement on that. Just before the Collab Summit,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the uh, the main downloads from Node.js.org were switched to R2 storage, and that's mainly been okay, except we didn't port all there were patches on both the build infrastructure side and the core repo side, and we didn't port all of the core repo changes to Node 18. So 1820.5 didn't stage any binaries in the staging area in R2. So when it got promoted, there was nothing to promote. And because we'd switched the week before or the 2 weeks before
Yeah.
to have the primary download served from R2, uh, the release blog post went out, and people, people's CIs were falling over because the binaries weren't there in R2. So Antoine manually sync them across, as the dist user. Yeah, so we should be able to sort that out by making sure with the relevant commits are backported to the release lines. Um, I think there may be one or two issues that might need to be ironed out, but I think in the main, the majority of the work now is running. And I guess we wait and see, if 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 we think it's stable enough to mark this as done. But there are a few things. So, for example, the fact that the binaries are missing from R2,
Hmm.
we have checks, but the checks were only checking the DigitalOcean droplet, and everything was there. And in the past, when that was the primary place people were pointed to for downloads, that was fine because then if the binaries were missing from R2, you wouldn't see
Yeah.
that. But now they've been flipped over. If they're missing from R2, that will be an issue. So there is room for improvement in the checks we do to to check both the existing DigitalOcean checks, but also to add more checks to check that the R2 stuff is there. So there's that, and I can't really, I think there may still be an issue with the indexes on the Cloudflare workers not having the symbolic links, like the latest links or something. So I think the indexes are still being served from DigitalOcean, but the actual downloads are being served from R2. And again, that's probably something for the workers. Um, at least that's what I understand the situation being. I don't think there's been anything in the last few days, but then I'm still catching up from last week. So
Yeah.
but yeah, the big one was the 18 release and not spotting that in the proposal we hadn't backported because things don't automatically flow to 18 because it's a maintenance release. So we should have collectively spotted that we needed to put things in there for the infrastructure changes. But yeah, the switch to R2 just before the Cloud Summit was I think it was done quite quickly to have it done by the Collab Summit. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was working. I mean, it works for 23 and 22. It was just 18 had been untested. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely seems like we are almost there, right? I mean, has been a while.
yes. And I do have an item. So a while ago, I documented the release process with a little mermaid diagram in GitHub
Yep.
Markdown. I'd like to update that at some point to reflect both the additional R2 paths and
Hmm.
also that the website. So the old diagram was when we were still building the website on the build working group infrastructure, but the website's now been moved to Vercel. So I should update the diagram to show that we're no longer building the website on the DigitalOcean droplet, and instead the website is on a separate infrastructure that the build working group doesn't own. So um, yeah, that's a documentation thing.
Yeah. It's a very good summary, actually. Yeah. I think those are the official topics in the agenda today. Do we want to discuss anything else?
Yeah, I don't know too much about it, but I did see that Stefan opened a build issue. Let me find it. Here we are. Uh, this is build issue 3963, um, which apparently the latest Visual Studio version. Node is failing to compile with it. So Stefan's opened an issue with Microsoft to report the build failure. And I think he's opening issues in like the core repo to temporarily recommend against using that version of Visual Studio, and I think disabling the GitHub workflows because GitHub automatically updated their runners to run on that version of Visual Studio, and that workflow is now failing. Um, I don't know much else beyond that. I haven't looked at the technical reasons why it's failing, but if it's been reported up to Microsoft, presume it's an actual compiler issue or whatever. But yeah, I guess just for awareness, I'll mention that. because I could see that affecting other people. Yeah, just in people what
Yep.
and it will affect people's pull requests on the build repo until we, well, even if we disable the workflow, people might need to rebase their PRs to pick that up, or PRs would have to be manually landed because the tooling will see the failure and refuse to land PRs. So yeah, this is one of the drawbacks about using GitHub runners is you're at the mercy of the software installed on the runner, and if you have an upgrade to something on the runner that doesn't work with your build processes, then you have to
Yep.
do with it. And if it's something that's fundamental as well, if the code isn't compiling, you might have to come up with a workaround or temporarily stop compiling on that platform, which is kind of where we're at the moment.
Yep. Any additional topic that we want to discuss? Anything else? Okay, so I think that was one of the shortest meeting I remember from the build team. So we all have like 40 minutes back. So that's nice. Nice to see you all. See you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.